Well, you know, as I sometimes do, I made a video yesterday for the opening. It literally started raining right when I started my video. That's weird. I did a video yesterday for the opening, when I'm done the video, you can tell. I can tell anyway the tone I've taken, how I feel, and I just, I'm only human too. And when we have bad weeks, I might look like Mr. Chipper when we do our videos, but I get pissed off too, and I get upset. The difference is I learned a long time ago that you can lay in bed and cry like a little baby, or you can get up and work harder. So 8:30 this morning, Sunday morning, I was in the barn in Ohio. As I walked in the barn, there was one other person there, Jason McGinnis. So he understands the difference too. No matter how good or how bad you're doing, you got to put the work in, right? You can't stop working hard. I guess it's much like a guitar player or a pitcher or a basketball player. You can't sink threes. You go to the gym and shoot threes. You can't hit the strike zone. Throw more pitches. And that's kind of what we're at here, is that it's not like we have bad horses, right? I think when we went to Ohio the other night, I was optimistic. I was scared that two things could happen. One, the horses weren't over their virus, and two, they would relapse, and this virus would be a never-ending cancer in our barn. You can talk to trainers all over the world, and they'll tell you sometimes when it hits, it just never seems to go away. And we did the best we could. Two very different, not different approaches, but you guys may think that I'm all over the place, and I can't see what's going on everywhere. We have great people everywhere. I decided we were going to take two approaches. The first approach was in Ontario. We were going to wait till the horses were healthy, then we were going to train them up. We trained everybody hard on Wednesday in Ontario. Brilliant Corners. I don't want to say he relapsed. Well, he did. It appears he relapsed. He was coughing yesterday, coughing today on Sunday. He won't race tomorrow. No temperatures. His appetite is good, so he'll be fine. He'll get over the cough. I see it here with these horses that are coughing. Now, we took a totally different approach in Ohio. We didn't train them at all. For 2 weeks leading up to the Sire Stakes race on Friday evening, they did not go a single mile. They jogged lots, nice and calm and quiet, but they didn't train. What you saw in Ohio the other night, for the most part, except for two horses, were horses that just weren't physically tight and ready to go, and clearly raced against some horses that were. And there were some horses that were sick in Ohio, not ours, other people's, and other horses that weren't tight. First race, and I get these emails all the time at night. Is Mama Knows Best okay? Maybe she's just not good enough. Maybe she's not good enough for the Sire Stakes. Mama Knows Best drew 9 in a Sire Stakes event with Sire Stake horses and hadn't trained in 14 weeks coming off the virus. The fact that she was parked all the way around the turn, clear to the front, was beat, 4 lengths, trotted 58 apiece, was an incredible mile. For those of you out there that don't know, you may not understand the depth of what I'm talking about. For those of you that are horsemen out there understand it, was an incredible feat. And she did a very, very good job in doing it. It's hard, right? You don't want to overdrive the horses, but at the same time, you want to put them in a position to win. It wouldn't be a miracle, like it wouldn't be a miraculous feat if she had won. These are 2-year-old trotters. They make breaks all the time. We don't know what other horses are a little bit sick out there. I see them. You go in the paddock, you hear a cough over there, you hear a cough over there. You'll see horses beat 14, 15 lengths. Maybe they're not good enough, but maybe there's something wrong. In many cases, there's something wrong. So Ronnie put her in a position to win. She raced good and finished 3rd. Very, very good mile. GW Chrome. Maybe he's not a Sire Stake horse. As I said the other night, I don't know. We're going to treat him for EPM. He seems to me like he's better than he appears. Now, if he's at his best, at 100%, and he tries his heart out, and he's just kind of good enough, try to extrapolate what he would look like if he hadn't trained in 14 days leading into a Sire Stakes race. Kind of looked like he did the other night. So, could just be that he's been exactly what we pegged him as all along. A good horse that's an overachiever. We didn't give him the tools to do well on Friday, and he didn't. But, again, that's the risk you take, right? If we had to train him up in between, maybe it would have been a Brilliant Corners situation where we would have had to scratch him. We did get $2,000 in racing him. Not a lot. Doesn't pay for a whole lot, but at the same time, it's not money out of our pocket. So, having said that, one approach wasn't better than the other one. In Brilliant Corners' case, it appears it may have been the incorrect one, but he had the same sickness that no free lunch yet. He had the same sickness that the other colts had, Blue Monk and the rest of them had. They all trained on Wednesday. They never coughed once in the last 4 or 5 days. So you're starting to understand on a case-by-case basis the individuality of each horse is really incredible when you look at it. Some horses go out and race good and you're like, I truly believe if I'm a Lovely Lady doesn't make a break, she's first or second, and we're like, she raced awesome. Still didn't train for 14 days leading up to the race. So, I got a lot of emails from people. What's wrong with I'm a Lovely Lady? Let me see. She's a 2-year-old trotting filly that made a break. Don't see any glaring problems. Just see that she's the same as every other 2-year-old filly on earth. She's made a break. And, when you look at last year, Globetrotting was a standout filly here in Ohio. Aside from Chris Beaver's filly, Kiki Mora, it really looked like Globetrotting was the cream of the crop, so to speak. Those two fillies, definitely were last year, and Virgil's filly also. But she made breaks. It happens. No, I'm a Lovely Lady hasn't compiled $170,000 on her card, and I hope she does. But she's certainly a better filly than people complaining about. It's not. I shouldn't say nobody really complained. I think everybody was just concerned. What was up with her. I can honestly say, not too many times you're going to see a horse make a break that I'm driving and me not be able to tell you why. I don't know why. Had she made a break in the first turn, I could tell you why. I clipped Kurt Suggs' wheel in the first turn with her. That was the time to make a break. Not come right up trotting and then roll off for seemingly no particular reason in the middle of the straightaway. So a little surprised, but we'll work on that. She'll come back in the Ohio State Fair race soon enough. Again, when the horses aren't racing good, or even a few of the horses aren't racing great, the captain's gonna get the complaints, and I get that. Arctic Force yesterday, a good friend of ours, a good client, had called and was upset because Arctic Force didn't get away well. Now, my take on the Arctic Force situation is simple. I like our horses raced, but here's a colt that drew 8 his last 2 starts. That's not his fault. That's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just shitty luck. And I didn't know the gentleman driving the horse. Still don't. Jim Taggart Jr., I think his name was. His lines are good. It seems like he does a pretty good job. And Jeff does a great job in Tioga. So it's up to him who drove the horse. Some people were upset because he didn't leave with them. Here's my take. It's 89 degrees charted at post time for that race. 89 degrees. So I'm going to do the Canadian math for you real quick. That's 57, 89, 57. It's 28 Celsius, give or take. Pretty hot day in Tioga. He's got the outside post, and going to the gate, he's 15-1. Now, one of our clients said, well, he was 2-1 morning line. Listen, I know the people. I've seen some people that set morning line odds on horses. Yeah, they're not really the people that I'm going to rely on what the horses are going to go away. I'm going to rely on the people that are betting on the horses. So I don't give a shit what anybody's morning line is. It doesn't matter. It's what the people think of them going to the gate. That's your best market. That's your best data. So he's 15-1 going to the gate. He's got the 8-hole. He's in a race that goes for $4,300. That alone is perplexing enough. But with stake races coming up, whether we choose to race them in Yonkers or not, we have some people saying we should. We have some people saying we won't. At the end of the day, that's no one's decision but Jeff and mine, whether he goes there or not. I think we could easily skip and race him somewhere, but I'm not a real big fan of racing for $4,300. Somebody said, what about the Excelsior B? Should win that, and they go for $65. Can make a case for that. It's a good point. Either way, yesterday's race, I think I would have been, even as an aggressive driver and a person that wants his horses raced, I would have been a little upset if Mr. Taggart Jr. had just whistled Arctic Force out of there. And for the people that say he should have, just take a look at the chart lines. The horses that got away 1, 2, 3, I believe, finished 6, 7, 8. It was a hot day. It was a taxing trip. And for him to blast out of there and stumble into the wire, and we cash our check for $2,150 minus taxes and driver and trainer fees, and the horses maybe beat up a little bit. Thanks anyway. I'm good. I'm very happy with the way he drove the horse. Took him back, raced him up the wood. You guys know I've attacked my own brother on here a couple of times, humorously or otherwise, about racing our horses too easy. But in the case of Arctic Force, I'm glad with the way he was driven yesterday, and that's not going to change. So I had another bunch of emails. Where's Globetrotting? Good point. Where's Globetrotting? After the race last week, Globetrotting was good. We chopped all our toe off. The reason being, we'd made a number of changes, and throughout the winter, and with the heat she had from some of the infection she had in her left leg, and then swelling she had, and heat she had, she just didn't have a good year starting at the year, and all that heat creates a little bit of brittle foot there, right? So I'd asked the blacksmith, we got 3 weeks to work with, chop all her toes off. Right down to the white line, right down to the blood. We'll have 3 weeks to grow some good fresh foot on her. I think that was the best way to go. Blacksmith agreed, Jason agreed 100%. So we chopped all her toes off. I trained her yesterday. She was good. Was she awesome? No. But she trotted, trained a good mile, came in, ate all her lunch, and felt real good. Didn't seem sore to me anywhere. So I was very happy with the way Globetrotting trained. I think Jason's got her pegged down to train Wednesday this week. Then we'll put her in the race bike right here at Northfield Park. Maybe go mile 57 or 58 next Saturday morning here in Ohio. Myself, I get a busy week. Monday, I'm at the Meadows. I'm going to wake up and train horses here. They are going to train this week. The ones that are racing on Thursday. I'm a little torn between racing Momo at a fair or the Grassroots, the Buckeye. She took the virus hard. If Jason can find us a fair that we can race at this week that isn't too far away, that isn't going to be too taxing on her, I think I'd rather take Momo and Desperado to the fairs. I would rather, you know, as I said, she took it pretty hard. We're going to train her hard tomorrow. We'll see how she trains. Box closes, I think, at 9 a.m. We plan to be all trained up by 7:30. Then I have to get in the car and drive right to the Meadows. I'm going to train Path of Totality in the race bike Monday for Tim Twaddle. Want to get her on track. That pissed me off the other day also. And it's not Tim's fault. I know the filly, you know, just her transitioning, sometimes she gets a little stubborn, and this break behind the gate, there's no need for that. And we're going to make sure we have all our equipment on properly and that she is ready to go on Thursday when we need her to qualify after Monday. It looks like That's My Girl is going to race. Her Italian Grit, Fox Valley Britska, coughed all week. We scratched Italian Grit. He was still coughing this morning a little bit. We scratched Fox Valley Britska. I trained him a little bit this morning. I trained That's My Girl a little bit this morning. The only one still coughing is Italian Grit, but he dug into his lunch. So I suspect he's getting over whatever it is. Those horses shipped out today. They left an hour ago for Indiana. Doug Rideout is going to be training them. I see Doug's got a couple other fillies in the stakes also. Is That's My Girl going to be near 100%? Absolutely not. But I'm going to try and protect her, pick up some money. I guess it's a point system and money system down there also, I suspect. So both of those would be very important. The difference between her and Ohio is we did get a little training into her. We did train her before the schoolers on Thursday. When she wasn't quite 100%, we opted not for a faster mile. But I come back with another slow training trip today. Best we can do. But the good news is no coughing for the last 2 days. Seems sharp, seems really bright and ready to go. So Tuesday she will likely go. I will be there to drive her in Indiana. So I'm driving from Washington, Pennsylvania to Anderson, Indiana on Tuesday to drive That's My Girl. Wednesday, I'm back at the Meadows. And Let's Roll On, Ryan Stahl's going to drive. Geez, I thought he qualified well. His mile wasn't super fast, but he looked good the other day. I thought he looked comfortable and fluid, and he's getting big, and he just looks really, really good, this horse. Is he fast? No, not fast. But we had some other horses we didn't think were very fast. It turned out okay when they got a little bit older also. I like Let's Roll On's moxie. I like his attitude. I like his swagger. He's got a, you know, he's not fast, but he does the best he can. And he's going to Bucyrus. I was torn. I wanted to go to Bucyrus, but we got all played alone in Pennsylvania, which isn't a big deal. But he's been on the chopping block for a while. I was impressed with the way he raced 2 weeks ago. I want to see how he races. Felix's filly, I said I would go and drive her just for me and you. She's in also. And then a horse of Tim's. Tim had asked me to drive something of his. So we had a little conflict. I opted for back to the Meadows. I guess just the furthest point for me to drive. Let's Roll On is going to race in Bucyrus. Thursday, I have, now this will help a little bit. We have the Sire Stakes in Scioto on Thursday for Roy Hill, well and down for sure, if not any other ones. I think Jason said he might enter his filly, and then we may end up taking Momo. We'll see how she trains tomorrow. We have those horses in on Thursday. Now, Scioto isn't that far to Anderson, Indiana, 2 and a bit hours. For Friday, we'll have Fox Valley Britska, and I hope Italian Grit. That'll be up to Doug. I need to see him stop coughing. We're not going to enter him and train him while he's coughing. Both of those colts, super strong? No. Super tight? No. Super healthy? Getting there. So that's what we're at with the Indiana horses. So I think we've got a strong hold on the sickness here. We've eradicated the sickness for the most part in Ohio. That's a big deal. That was a tough 2 weeks. Tough 2 weeks. But it seems to be over now. We can work on tightening the horses up and racing them strong. Our sale on Wednesday went well. The only horse we didn't end up selling when it was all said and done was Rito Sunshine. We had a couple of people, tire kickers, trying to buy him off us, but I'm not going to give him away. I might just put him right back in the sale again and see what we get. I'm just torn. He had tied up a little bit 10 days ago. I asked the boys to train him on Saturday. We'll go back Wednesday. Might even requalify him next Friday. That might be a better course of action for him. But all the other horses sold: Enduring Strength, Excellent Nation, Forged in Fire, Overdue Mission, Rose Run Valiant, Sometimes Things Happen, Surreal Love, Susie K, the Fat Cobra, all were sold. A little bit of closure there. I told everybody why it was important. They went, when we look out in Illinois, Maintenance Man has got to probably find his way into that sale. We just can't find a class for this horse, and I'm not shipping him all over North America. I think this is a horse that maybe, although his last quarters are good, his miles are good, there's no fruition from those. There's nothing tangible coming from that other than more headaches. So I think you look at Rito Sunshine and Maintenance Man might be two that find themselves back on Hoofbid this coming Wednesday. And listen, guys, you guys know as well as I do, I'm in the same boat as you. When we race No Free Lunch and he gets interfered with, it's frustrating. When we race Rooney Blue Chip, he rolls off at the gate. It's frustrating. When I'm a Lovely Lady breaks, or even Miss Meringue makes breaks, I feel this too, and it's frustrating. But these are the trials and tribulations of horse racing, and nobody said this was an easy or a game that is fun all the time. It sucks sometimes, and it was really difficult for me to drag my ass out of bed today to come to the barn and make sure we trained those horses, got them ready for Indiana. It would be just as easy for me to sulk and lay in bed till 11 o'clock. But as I've said a million times, and many of you out there that are successful in any walks of life, you get out what you put in. Things aren't working out, you work harder. And I was very surprised and very impressed to see Jason McGinnis, as tired as he must have been up all night last night, be to the barn at the same time or earlier than me. So there's absolutely no concerns with how much this barn and how much the people down here are concentrated, how much they're focused on doing well, and they all know that things aren't great right now, but at the same time, you don't have to figure out why, right? Horses were drawing bad, horses got sick, now they're healthy, hopefully they'll draw better, and we'll have a better run over the next 2 weeks. But we'll see. Looking at Ontario, as I said, No Free Lunch, that was tough to take, but at the same time, I don't have any... we don't have any control over what other people do. He was clearly interfered with. Spirit of Dio, I think the chart line reflects, the IX on her chart line reflects what took place. James said that she wasn't going to make a break, that she just kind of spooked when Jody made a break. The frustrating part of that was I wanted to see a big mile out of her on Friday. She really needed to show us a big mile if we were going to continue to whisper and talk about the Hambo Oaks, but I think that ship sailed. It was a lot to ask. Qualifier, big mile, break, and then something. She would have to go, a miraculous mile on next Friday. That really had to turn some heads for us to even remotely think about the Hambo Oaks. I think, as I said, that ship has sailed. But nevertheless, there's lots of stake races left and lots of racing left for Spirit of Dio for the rest of the year. Let's just get her back on track. Hopefully get her back to the winner's circle. Somebody had said to me, is there any way you could just maybe go back to Canada and go with her? Not unless you know Justin Trudeau better than I do, because the quarantine is the way it is set up. Now, I did apply for an exemption. I don't know if they're giving them out. I would suspect in the climate in North America, I would say no, they won't. But I did apply for an exemption. If you look at the exemptions on COVID-19 on that list, there is a very distinct line that says people that travel back and forth for work. Now, in the line above, they're referring to truckers. people that move goods that are essential for society, which makes perfect sense. People that work in the medical community, again, makes perfect sense. But there is a line in there that, and the door is left open there for people that work on both sides of the border. Now, in Ohio, I'm considered an essential worker. Horse racing, I assume agriculture in this regard, is essential. So that's why I don't have to quarantine. I have to be aware of my health and keep everybody safe around me. I have not one, but 2 masks that I wear all the time. I know a lot of people that said, hey, can I buy one of these? I know where we bought them, and I can ask the gentleman how quick he can get them here. If you guys would like these, I can't make any guarantees because both these were made in 2 very different places. These are really cool. They're a little thicker, a little harder to breathe out of, but I would suggest, although they're not medical, they do a real good job. These ones don't fit real good, but they fit okay. I wear them when I go places down here. Anytime I step out of my car into society, I do what everybody else says. Everybody said it. Johnny Shoe's out there shaking his head because he told me months ago to wear a mask, and I'm like, nah, I'm not wearing a mask. But as I said in my Facebook post the other day, if wearing a mask ensures that this ends quicker, that when and everybody's waiting for a vaccine and for these treatments for COVID-19, but if we can do things to help eradicate this quicker, I think it's upon us in society to do that. Now, I see a totally different mentality about it in some people here in the States than in Canada. That doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, it's just a different way of belief and a different way of feeling. And in Canada, we like to take shots at other people that maybe do things differently, but until you've walked a mile in somebody else's shoes, shouldn't really talk about them. And I get it, but as I said, I try to wear my mask whenever I can. I did applied for an exemption from the Canadian government. I can't imagine that I will get it, but I did apply for it. I wrote a very thoughtful, long letter to whoever was on the other side of that Canadian government email. They had called me. They don't joke around. When I did sneak back into Canada for a couple of days, I did quarantine. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody being concerned or saying, yeah, you shouldn't bounce around. I did sneak back in because I want to see my kids. I want to see my family. So I self-quarantined. I stayed in the basement. I stayed away from everybody as the people at the government asked me to do, and they did call. They weren't joking. They did call. Asked me if I was in fact quarantining, if I was doing what I was supposed to do, in which case I told them I was. So I take it very seriously. I think everybody should. And if the exemption comes through for me, then great. So we have talked about a number of things. We've talked about the horses' head being sick. We talked about the sales of the horses and why that was important throughout the week. I believe there's going to be 2 more horses be sold this week. Maintenance Man should probably go on that hoof bid auction, and we may put Rideau Sunshine back on there. It's not that I have a problem with Rideau Sunshine, but when I look how difficult it is to get our horses raced right now in Ontario, it's not getting any better, right? Look at a horse like Broadway Roll. Pete Masano and his partner George had emailed me and said, it's a little unfair that we have to race against 3- and 4-year-olds. Yep, you're right. It is. Really frustrating. And I had messaged Ian Fleming, who's the race secretary and for most of the tracks in Ontario, and said, listen, can we start riding some 2-year-old maidens on the B tracks? Maybe even a maiden claimer. I'd be happy to put, a horse like Broadway Roll in a 15 condition claimer. And I've always said that Prospect Series should be a claimer because it gets too tough, right? People look at the grassroots and say, I don't really want to. I'd rather race in a little easier company. Fine. But to keep that consistent and keep that fair for everyone, I believe that should be a claimer. That way, that people just can't drop their horses in for a quick race. And, that division should be for a certain type of horse. There should be somewhere for us to race these horses and to keep it as safe as it can from cannibals, so to speak. I think putting a tag on that would alleviate that problem, and I hope they do. I hope they look at it, and I hope they do. So we talked about the sickness. We talked about the sale. We talked about racing in general, how tough it is, and why we've had to make the changes that we've had to make. And I think they're very, very important also that we made them. Talk about some of the bad luck. I don't mean to gripe. you know, we're going to have this roller coaster, these peaks and valleys, and no free lunch getting run into on the same night when Rooney Blue Chip makes a break at the gate. The day after, I'm a Lovely Lady and Miss Meringue break. Yeah, it's tough to take. It's a real tough thing to do, but that's racing. So when we look at here in Ohio, I think the biggest surprise for me, Mama Knows Best, I think we knew is a good filly, and she's going to remain a good filly. She's only going to get better. I think as we have her real tight for her next start, I think you're going to see the very best of Mama Knows Best, which is going to be impressive to watch. A horse that everybody should keep their eye on is My Jazz. She's no joke. This filly, you can drive her however you want. I think if I hadn't got caught cheating a little bit in the last turn to the outside, she's maybe third, definitely fourth. But had to be short. Still trotted in 57 and a piece. Raced great. Very impressed with this filly. I'm a Lovely Lady, we know, is a really talented filly. She's just got to put it all together, and I think, you know, Northfield, she raced incredibly well. She rolled off at Scioto. So I think, looking back at Scioto, what did we do different? We didn't warm her up hard. We didn't have her completely on her toes and focused when she went behind the gate because she was off for 14 days. I know how we can change that pretty easy. GW Chrome's still got a lot to do, but at the same time, we have lots of options with this colt. If he's not a Sire Stakes colt, that's fine. We can find the Buckeye for him pretty easy. They write one at the same time every time they race. Miss Meringue, I think, as I said before, had she not made that break, we were still going to drop her down into the Buckeye level. So that's where she'll be going her next time out. So those are the horses that, I think I'm missing somebody here, right? Mama Knows Best, My Jazz, Miss Meringue, GW Chrome, I'm a Lovely Lady. I think I'm missing one. Anyway, it'll come to me. So overall, that's all that's going on here. Indiana's a big deal for us. I don't think you're going to see the best out of our horses this coming week. They're all coming off the virus. They're a little tighter than they were when they wandered into Ohio, but I think there's a bit of a shark tank waiting for us there also. I see some horses that trotted in 57, 58. I think the Colts and the filly we entered in the $10,000, the mini series, I guess they call it down there, and it didn't fill. The maiden didn't fill. We were forced into the Sire Stakes. Drew the rail. We'll see what we can do with the rail with I'm a Lovely Lady, or That's My Girl on Tuesday evening. And then we have Italian Grit and Italian Grit and Fox Valley Britsko will be racing on Friday. We're going to probably enter them in the mini-series, the $10,000 one. I don't want to start them in the Sire Stakes, especially when I just watched Italian Grit leave here coughing, and Fox Valley Britsko is just getting over the virus, scratched on Friday night. Let's give them an easier start there. So we talked about everything going on, what's going on with the sales past, who might be in the sale this week, what our plans are with the horses moving forward. I've been, you know, when I step back and look at the body of work all week, I understand why the horses were a little weak in Ohio, and I expect them to be much, much better the next time they go out. Which ones will be going to the Ohio State Fair? I think Globetrotting, I'm a Lovely Lady, My Jazz. I might, depending on how GW Chrome trains this week, maybe they get one more crack at it. So there'll be at least those 4 2-year-olds, I'm a Lovely Lady, My Jazz, Mama Knows Best, GW Chrome, and Globetrotting. So we'll have at least 5 in the Ohio State Fair, depending on where we can move the other fillies. I think Spend That Money's got to find some easier racing. So does Compass Rose DC and Miss Meringue. So a few little changes there with the roster here in Ohio. Arctic Force is looking for another overnight, I believe. Whether we take him to Yonkers, whether we race him in the Excelsior B, that'll be a conversation I'll have with Jeff and hopefully Mark. I would like to see Mark drive the Colt again. So those are conversations we're going to have with them. Indiana, I got lots of work and lots of driving, lots of racing to do this week. Rooney Blue Chip, I spoke to Angie about Rooney and Maintenance Man. I think Maintenance Man's got to go. And Rooney Blue Chip, as I said to Angie, you just got to get a feel for him. She only had him 3 days. It was a really difficult job for her to do that. Rooney's seen the track now. He's seen the gate now. As I said to her, maybe train him up real good this week and make sure you have him dialed in going to the gate. We'll give him a mulligan, but you get one mulligan, Rooney. So Rooney would be out again this week. Lots of racing going on Monday in Ontario. Unfortunately, as I said, Brilliant Corners will be scratched, but all the other colts will go postward. See if I can do this. Adrenaline Rush, Beef and Cheddar, Blue Monk, and Warwee Was Up will all be going postward tomorrow night. Really, really excited to see those horses race. We have White Tiger is going to be in on Tuesday. Cruising in Style is also in on Tuesday evening at Mohawk, as is the other big guy, horse we sent to Kyle. He's in to go on Tuesday evening also. So lots of racing coming up. I think you're going to see a much better week ahead. I hope we will. The horses are healthy. The horses are sharp now. They are going to be tight. So let's hope for the best. Anyway, definitely some bad luck this week, but that goes with the game. That's the game we're in. Hopefully the horses bounce back and we have a great week. So enough battling. The opening is done. I hope you guys had a great week and a great weekend. I will be in touch, I guess, after Monday for sure. Talk about how the horses in Ontario went. Hopefully celebrating some good luck on Monday and Tuesday. Looking forward to a midweek video or some midweek depression, depending on how things go. But what goes up must come down, and vice versa. The horses had a bad week this week. Hopefully they have a good week next week. Hope you guys had a great week and a great weekend. I will talk to you soon.